And Canada is not that much different from America. The Canadians will be pissed off for me for saying that. I'm just going to offend everybody here. And I'm married to a Chinese woman, and my son doesn't like foreigners. He tolerates me.
Well, some people might think I actually paid you to say this.
But there probably would be those people. And you know what? I'm not talking to them, because those are the people that don't want to hear anything.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to do here in Beijing?
Without a doubt, it's play music for sure.
Play music.
Yeah. I mean, that's when I'm not doing my writing or teaching, which is that's my life basically, right? My passion is music, and if I could go back to playing music professionally, I probably would. You know, well, no, that's a lie. I would not. It's a tough gig, but it's where I just feel most comfortable. You know, like even last night, I haven't played a show in 6 months.
Wow. And last time was your first time in 6 months?
Yeah, first time in 6 months. And just when I step on stage, it's like, even with that many people in the audience, just to look at, because it was completely full. Wow. And there's that initial shock of, holy, a lot of people. But once I hit the first note, I'm just in my own headspace, you know? Yeah.
But you're used to that, like a crowd.
Yeah.
Audience.
I am, but you never fully get, like, you're always nervous. You're always nervous at the beginning, because it's like, you're afraid of making mistakes, like right away.
Yeah, I guess.
But again, once I hit the first note and I'm feeling the drummer and I'm into it, then it's a totally different experience, you know. That's not a specific Beijing thing, but I think for me it is, because it's a different type of energy. Again, like my last show, there were tons of people there as well, but I was playing my own music, and they all like, they knew the band, they knew my band, and they were all into the music. But it was Shenzhen, so everyone was sitting down and just really chilled and listening and kind of like tapping along. But last night, you know, they're just people standing up and leaning on the stage, and they're really vocal. And these are like kids in their 20s. How do you know this music? And they knew it. Like there's so many people filming. Like when I left, I got 3 or 4 messages from my other friends in Beijing. My videos are on their feed from their I don't even know these people.
I think I've seen this somewhere. Channels, or on WeChat or something.
Yeah, it's
that's Neil's show.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like I know where you were tonight. I'm like,
and I wasn't even there.
Yeah, and I'm like, why weren't you there? You're my friend. You know, I posted this. Where were you?
Yeah. So it was pretty good last night.
But I will say, for an actual Beijing thing, like what I loved the most the first time I lived here was the cultural aspects of it, like going to the Confucius Temple or going to the Forbidden City, and all of those things. You know, the rich history that is well preserved in Beijing is. I'm a history buff as well. Like at Harvard, my second degree was in history, and I teach. Or I have taught AP World History, so that stuff is really impressive to me. And I think when I go there, you feel like you're transported to that time. You know what I mean? It's just you can feel the rich history that's kind of permeates everything. Yeah.
So among all of these like famous sightseeing historical places, which one is your favorite?
I really liked the Confucius Temple.
The Confucius Temple.
Yeah. It's not huge, but it's just that main courtyard and everything. Like you just feel like you're in a specific time. And you know, it's Confucius, so it's like really, you know, use all these things.
The thinking, the word, the ideas from him. Yeah,
exactly. And this is inscribed everywhere. Not to mention, there's this is really huge tree. It's a famous tree. And you know, all those things. I have a fondness for something like that people can seriously preserve something that's positive, especially like that's a positive thing. So
like people from other cities, when they come to Beijing, the first place they go is the Tiananmen Square, and then Forbidden City.
Tiananmen is not comfortable for me. It's not comfortable.
No, neither for me.
You
Like,
know?
I don't like it there.
Yeah, I drove through there last night, and there was so many people, but there's also so many armed guards.
Yeah, they're like soldiers.
And it's uncomfortable. Like, and I mean, the history of it itself is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we will not talk about
So
that.
that's why we don't talk about it. Yes. Okay. Right. So, what's the best place have you visited in China?
In China.
In China, yeah, not just here.
Probably it depends for different feelings, but what I really liked about living in Shenzhen is that you're in this big metropolis of a city, but then 30 minutes you're at the ocean, you're on a beach with like
that's nice.
beautiful white sand, and you know I like that, just to go and relax and spend time with my family, or even by myself. Like one of the cool things about my family and my wife is just like she still lives in Shenzhen with my son, right? So we're very independent of one another, which I think actually makes our marriage much stronger. And I think that's what's really good about, you know, if I say I it doesn't even have to be China. I'm like, I'm going to Thailand for a week. I just kind of want to go by myself. Yeah, no problem. Go, off you go. You know, another part of China that I really liked was Suzhou.
Suzhou.
Yeah, again,
it's also in the south.
Yeah, I lived in a city called Akita, Japan, and Suzhou reminded me almost
Of that city.
everything about that. There was a strong occupation in Suzhou by the Japanese, during their occupation. So it's obviously influenced the culture there.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, it was a nostalgia of like all the things I like about China combined with all the things I like about Japan in the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That place, yeah. Suzhou is beautiful.
Yeah,
Suzhou,
and then,
it is beautiful.
It's 30 minutes from Shanghai as well. So.
Yeah, it's very close.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the China you see here and people talk about online?
Oh, I mean, okay, so I can use this because I went to Harvard to go to a 2-week course for education, and I also gave a speech to some of the professors, because I was the only person, first of all, who was not American that was invited to this program.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I was the only person that represented China.
Oh, well, you represent China?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
So that's why they invited me, because of my work sending Chinese students to the United States.
All right.
We have a 100% graduation rate for students that go.
Wow.
Because of the way we train them, because we know the American education system inside out. So they wanted to find out why my students were able to graduate where other students are not.
Okay.
So, but I'm also surrounded by people from all over America, right? Principals and teachers. So the common question I always get is, why, how can you live in a communist country? Especially with the American ideals of independence and freedom, and and I'm Canadian, but like I said, I lived in the States for so long. Even
Americans.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty American. Even Americans think I'm American, and identify with a lot of American ideals as well. So it's not a farce. And Canada is not that much different from America. The Canadians will be pissed off for me for saying that. I'm just going to offend everybody here. There are big differences, but ultimately we're very similar.
Yeah.
Same food, same television, same movies, a lot of the same democracy. A little bit of a different system in our democracy, but we have democracy as well. But I think it's just that. Even my brother said, like, it's a communist country. Like, I didn't do the research before I moved halfway across the world. Like, I don't know anything about the country I'm in, right? And I think what I have to explain to them is your perception of what you think it's like versus the reality. And because you're fed so much propaganda. Yeah. And I see it when I'm in the States, and I'm like, what? And they'll tell me what China is like. I'm like,
they've never been.
Yeah, and they've never been. Right. I'm like, how can you do that? How can you sit there and tell me what it's like, what I've lived through?
People just assume things.
Yeah. So I think it's just telling them, explaining this. The government is a communist system. However, there's a lot of flexibility within that system, and there is a capitalist
Well, some
drive.
people might think I actually paid you to say this.
But there probably would be those people. And you know what? I'm not talking to them, because those are the people that don't want to hear anything.
Yeah.
You know, those are the people that are flat earthers and you know, dare I say, Trump supporters. People that just don't want to open their mind to other cultures or other opinions. You know.
So what do people usually like think about China if they've never been to China? Like what kind of information?
That it's oppressive.
Yeah,
you know, and they'll often bring up. You know, like Uyghur camps and really the nationalism. To me, it's nationalism. To them, they'll consider it jingoism.
Yes.
Whereas in some cases it is jingoism, but predominantly it's not, right? Like you without having experienced the culture and lived there, and you know, for 13 years, you know, I think I'm really well versed in.
That's a long enough time.
Yeah, and I'm married to a Chinese woman, and my son doesn't like foreigners. You know, he tolerates me, but he identifies 100% Chinese. He only speaks Chinese. You know, to me, right? Like at school, he has to speak English, but even to me, he only speaks Chinese. And even if I speak to him in English, he only replies to me in Chinese.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he understands English fully.
Yeah, because he lives here anyways. It's a language that he's used to. So he's,
But I think that's the biggest thing, is the stereotypes that they've been fed, which is the same frustration that I have with people in China that buy into Western stereotypes. It's the same thing, right? It's not being analytical and not looking at a situation and having any of the proper information to make a decision that's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I also find it very ironic when, you know, people in the West are like, well, it's communist, so you don't have any freedom. I'm like, you know what? I'll tell you what I do have. I have
Define freedom.
Exactly. Because I have the freedom to walk outside at midnight without worrying about getting stabbed or mugged or killed.
At least that.
I have the freedom to send my kid to school without worrying someone's going to go with an AK-47 or an AR-15 and destroy it. You know, to me, that is freedom, right? There are certain things I don't have access to.
That we're not allowed to.
Yeah. And I don't agree with it, but I'm willing to accept it because of the other things that benefit from, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely paying you to say this, am I?
No, because I've also explained things, and I've also said things that I disagree with, right? So you're not paying me for anything.
You got any advice for people who like considering coming on holidays to China?
Holidays,
yeah.
Yes,
because I think maybe, you know, a lot of people are considering that, because now since China's opened up again, you know, the visa is easier to get, or no? Like
it's easier to get, but you have to be very, very careful what you get. So if you get like I think it's.
Well, that's advice number one.
Yeah, no, because if you get your visa in Beijing, you can't go anywhere else.
Oh, you can only stay in Beijing.
And if you do try to go somewhere else, you will go to jail.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So if your visa is in Beijing, you can't just get on a bullet train and go to Shanghai, because the minute you try to check into a hotel, the police will be there. So you have, and it's not a pleasant experience, because they don't just come and say, "Oh, okay, you're not in the right place. Go back to Beijing." They take you to jail. Okay, and they grill you, and they, you know, it's a warning, and that's the way they do things.
That's for the tourist visa.
Yeah.
I mean, oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
whichever city you decide to go, get a visa in that city
and stay in that city.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way to get a
multiple city
visa, but you have to be very careful about the visa. So if you do it through a travel agency, make sure that the travel agency explains it to you. Yeah.
Or ask about it.
Yeah. The other thing is, really do your research. You know, like which part of China do you want to go to? What do you want to experience about China?
Yeah.
Don't just show up and like play it by ear. It's not Europe. Right, you know, like you
can't really do that.
No, you have to. The laws are very specific here.
I mean, you can, but if you're just, you know, like act normal, you just don't do anything weird.
That's true too, but also like I see, you know, posts where foreigners wear a shirt that has a Japanese flag, and then they get into a whole bunch of like. So
that's
also
very sensitive,
right? So also understand the cultural history. Yeah. This place is not Japan, and it's got a negative history with Japan that you don't want to. You know, you don't want to just rub that in people's faces because they're very sensitive about it. Even though I know it's history and you know as a Westerner, well, it's well in the past.
Well, yeah.
For you, it is. For people here, it's every day. Like it's still it's embedded in the culture.
The hatred is real.
Yes, the hatred is real. It is palpable. So just be sensitive and understand that it's not your right.
I think it's like you go into any country. To try to respect their culture.
Absolutely.
Just don't try to do anything to poke people.
But you also have to know it's cultural, but it's also legal. Like you're in another country. Your laws and your mentality don't apply here.
Yeah.
No matter what you think
no matter what you think. Yeah. It is.
You know, well, but this is not how things are done in America. You're not in America. Okay? That's why you came here. Yeah. So you have to understand the laws and the cultural sensitivity as well. Yeah. On the flip side, I can't stand when people are like, oh, you know, that's cultural appropriation if you wear something like, I don't know, or drink bubble tea or try. Like, it's not. Shut up. Okay, just relax, man. Yeah. Food is food and clothes are clothes. Like, just relax. Don't freak out over it.
So, which city or cities do you recommend people to go first for the first trip to China?
It depends on their personality, to be honest. Like, I can't blanket suggest Beijing for everybody. But most people, you know, tell me that's where they want to go.
The first place, the first city in China, they want to come to Beijing.
They know Beijing, they know Shanghai.
They know Shanghai. Those are two famous places to most people out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right, for sure they know, and they know Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, yeah.
Again, to me, Hong Kong is very culturally different from mainland China.
It is pretty different, yeah.
So, you know, not just because they speak Cantonese.
They speak Cantonese. They use traditional characters.
Yeah. But also because it was colonized by the British.
Yeah, but they also speak a lot of English.
They speak almost everybody.
Everybody speaks English.
But they also speak Putonghua. They also speak
Mandarin is not it's not the official language, but but people do speak.
That was my saving grace when I lived in Hong Kong because if the person I was talking to didn't understand English, I could always switch to Putonghua, and they knew it, right?
Yeah.
And if they didn't, I'm like, you're lying. You
must know that.
我知道你
Yeah.
你会说英语或者你会说中文，我知道。
Okay.
Right? Like that. Like either you speak English or
Mandarin.
Or Mandarin.
Yeah.
Like there's
That's
no way.
Hong Kong, yeah. So would you recommend Hong Kong for people?
Yeah,
for the first
definitely.
Place, first city?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I think it's like even more busy than Beijing.
Oh, it is. Oh, Hong Kong is. Oh my God, it's crazy.
It's crazy because it's so condensed, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you say Hong Kong, and there's like really many different places in Hong Kong, but you only go to Kowloon, right? Like most people just go to Kowloon because that's where the central stuff is. Yeah. So and that's just so densely populated.
That is.
There's so much space in Beijing.
There are actually.
Right?
If you think about it,
There's like the streets here are so big and the buildings are huge. Yeah. You know, there's so much space, and that's kind of shocking to think.
But it just feels like it's crowded.
It is.
If you get on the subway, if you go anywhere, you know, like on the street, and there are cars. Wow, the traffic here is.
The traffic here is horrible.
It's horrible. Yeah. It is horrible. So, but if you want to come to Beijing, just get ready for the bad traffic.
Yeah, do the subway. The subway is
the subway is a lot better.
Much better.
Our subway map is huge.
Yeah, and my mom made fun of me because when I lived in Toronto, you know, we had a subway system that went literally in a U shape. Oh. And I was. You know, it was only in a specific downtown court. Now they have a couple of crisscrossies. But when I was there, I was like scared to get on the subway.
U-shape can be confusing.
Well, a little bit, but like it's only a U-shape. That's all it was. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to get lost. Like, well, you get lost somewhere on a U, okay? Go back. Right? It's so easy.
So it's like that.
Yeah, it was like that. And and I was my mom was like, how can you navigate Beijing when you
Because it's easier. Yeah. It's just square.
No, it's just, I don't know. I just, at some point, I mean, when you move to a different country, like everything, you have to adapt to everything, right? So you have to, and either you do and you build up all this confidence to be around the city and do things and go places. And, you know, that's another aspect of foreigners that maybe are unhappy with their life and go somewhere to reinvent themselves, which I think is, to me, that's so stereotypical and it's like pigeonholing people to say that that's the only reason they would want to move somewhere else. Well, no one knows my personality. Your personality is going to be the same, by the way. So if people didn't like you back home, they're not going to like
people
you here much better. You still have to be a good person, but you develop confidence through that. It's in ways that you probably don't expect. Just to be able to survive in a different country gives you a whole new perspective on life, but also you start to realize that you're capable of more things than you thought.
Oh, awesome. Okay. How's your Chinese?
我的中文我觉得我会说中文，但是我应该会说更多。
应该会说更多。
真的，我没学习，所以我来北京的时候，我学习很努力，
很努力。
对，但是然后我结婚了，
就不学了。
我老婆会说英语
啊，你老婆会说英语，对，
她总是说英语。现在她发给我信息，我不会说中文很好，但是我更喜欢打字。
打字，
对
，type。
I prefer to type。因为我有时间想一想，
所以 you got time to think。
还有我的翻译非常不好。
Your Chinese is good enough to get by, to like
everyday life. I can survive. It does frustrate me sometimes because I do, I can speak relatively well. But if I go into a Starbucks and like people freak out just because they see me, I'm like, 我想一个大杯美式咖啡。什么？啥？大杯美式咖啡。But there's also like one time I went in there last week and I had just had a cold. I had bronchitis actually, and the woman behind the counter was like, 你生病了吗? And the other, like, she knows because I go in there all the time. But one of the other ones like, 他听不懂你说。I'm like, 我听懂了。是的，我生病了。
Yeah, that's also one of the things that you will experience in China. Like Chinese people would assume that you don't speak Chinese or whatever you're saying to them, they would assume that they don't understand.
For me, there's these two extremes.
Or they don't try to understand.
Yeah, there's these two extremes. The one is like if you say like if you're like 你好, they're like 哇你中文说得很好呀 and then they're really impressed.
Yeah.
And then when you speak a little more than that, then they think you're fluent.
Yeah.
Right?
And they start talking to you.
So there's these two extremes, and I'm just like, 我听不懂你说。对不对？你听懂了啊？你会说中文，我知道。你已经说了，所以。
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think every expat who's living here is gonna have to experience.
Yeah, I think so.
That's really uncomfortable Chinese conversation.
And honestly, my Chinese should be way better than it is. I just I've got to a point where I don't care.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But if you don't, it's because this is kind of see like if you don't speak Chinese, you can still survive. But it would be better that you do.
Oh, it's way better that you do.
Yes.
It's way better.
Life will be a lot better.
Just for simple things, and not just getting coffee but even just
pay the bills.
Just pay the bills, understanding things.
Yeah, talk to your landlord.
Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah, talk about contract or whatever.
I mean, I'm kind of spoiled because my wife takes care of all of that. To get this apartment, I just had to sit there and blink. Everything was done.
So you get everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm spoiled in that respect. But then I get here, I still got to live on my own. I got to order food on my own. Do all those things on my own. So I mean, not even the speaking. I think the reading is much more useful because, like, when you download an app. At that point, best of luck, because if you don't understand those characters, you're gonna have to have someone explain
we
how
have
to do
so
that.
many shopping apps.
Yeah.
So you gotta, if you want your life to be better, you better learn how to read those apps.
And if you're lazy like me and you don't want to leave your apartment and you want delivery all the time, because that's like I don't get up from my chair most of the time. Like I'm either
you just get delivered.
I get everything delivered. Either I'm sitting there learning music, or I'm writing, or I'm doing lesson planning, and I just don't have time. It's like, and then
food comes.
20 minutes later, there it is.
Food comes. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, can you say, "I am happy in Beijing" in Chinese to our audience?
在北京我很高兴。
我很高兴. Good. Okay. Well, thank you, Neil, for today's interview. It was a
Thank
really
you.
good time.
It was so fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be seeing you guys next time. Bye bye.